Hello. I don't have a mic. I would eventually like to get a mic, so I'm just gonna use an orange and pretend it's a mic because I also like holding things. So I am very tired. I should go to sleep. Came home today, like at lunch, and then I went to sleep after having a long phone call with someone about our relationship. Then I had ribs for lunch. Then we called again, and then I slept. And I had a great dream. Today I just want to talk about what things I think are Daoist. I was just looking out my window, and then I was like, dogs feel very Daoist to me. So I just want to list things that feel like the Tao to me. I'm not, I don't really practice it. I'm not very knowledgeable about my own faith. I don't really, I've never I can't even, I'm so beginner, so at the beginning of my journey, that I don't even, and also I'm tired. If you ask me what Taoism is, I wouldn't be able to explain it to you. It's like, what is it? There's one line from, what is it? The Tao that can be spoken is not the Tao or something. Or I don't know. I'm just trying to remember what I remember from the Tao Te Ching, listening to it, that particular version on YouTube where Dwayne Dyer just reads it, and there's nature sounds. His voice is very calming. He just goes through the whole Tao Te Ching, and it's great. I love it. Obviously, that particular recording of the scripture of the text, very Taoist. In itself, so calming, so evocative of that, I don't know, just that good feeling. It's real good. It's real good. So obviously, dogs, very much so. All dogs, any kind, especially for me, big dogs, or whippets, greyhounds, lurchers, golden retrievers, very Taoist. The way a dog looks at you, and it's just they're big, beautiful eyes looking at you. Very, Also cats, not as much, I would say, not as so, compared to dogs. Deer, also very. All animals, any animal, and they feel very, they can evoke that feeling for me. I just love nature, because obviously nature is a big part of Taoism. It's, it's one of the whole points. It's being one with nature, in a way. And also lavender. I'm holding an orange, very small tangerine. Citrus, very Taoist. Oregano, very Taoist. Flowers, like I said, lavender. Like wildflowers in a field in spring or summer. How flowers are still, I walked past an Italian restaurant and they had a bunch of flowers. And it's autumn right now. It's just, Halloween has just finished. And, but there's still flowers all about. We've not yet entered winter, where everything's dead. And even then, snow, very Taoist. The cold wind in winter, very, very much so. And the way Taoism works, my understanding, everything is the Tao. The Tao is the way, and everything in the universe is one. It's all connected. We're all made from the same things. In a scientific sort of level, all matter is made from the same shit. You know, on Earth, we're all like carbon-based life forms, if I'm not wrong. And everything in the universe is made of stuff, and then that all came from, like, I don't know, fucking stars or something. Very Daoist. The fact that we all come from the same thing at the beginning, like before there was life, before there was organisms with vision, or with like light sensing organs, right? Before you could hear, before you could smell, look, watch, feel, experience anything. What am I talking about? Like, before all that, like, we were all made from the same shit. Like, there were stars, there were these big things, and there were big, like, reactions and explosions. And all of that leads up to here. Everything that's ever happened just all leads up to where we are right now. Like, the date is like November something 2024. Everything that has ever happened has led up to today. And then tomorrow will happen. And it's all led up to that. And it will keep going forever, and all of us will die. All of the dogs we've ever loved will die. I will die. Everyone I love, have loved, will love, is gonna die. And all the parts that make us up will go back into the nature, the universe, and make new things until the sun dies, and then, or like, I don't know, the earth explodes, or like an asteroid hits, I don't know. And then all the stuff just continues being stuff, even if there's no life, if there's no me, if there's no you attached to it. Still goes on until there is just nothing. In the sense, for us, it would be nothing, but everything is still there, just rearranged differently. Like life, the universe, and everything is just a constant process of reorganization. You know, like, you're moving your furniture around the house, you're doing your hair differently, or you have, like, a shaker, you know, in, like, music in year 7, and you shake it, and then all the bits inside shake, or you have a salt shaker, you're shaking around the salt. Everything is just a big salt shaker. There's probably a better way of describing it. There's something I'm thinking of where things rearrange its shape. That's very Daoist. How we, you know, time. We can't even conceptualize how long ago it was that the universe, like, began, where there was everything, and everything was just nothing, and arranged in a way where it wouldn't make any sense to us, because we wouldn't have been there. There wouldn't have been a planet for us to exist on and have sensory organs to perceive anything, but it was all still there. All the same fucking molecules that ever will be, if I remember how physics works, all the matter that ever will be was there at the beginning, just rearranged differently every once in a while, and then life happened, and then it just kept happening, and then we got more life, and things just kept rearranging in a way where more things came together, and then those things came together with other things, and all these elements formed, and then nature happened, then people happened, and then society happened, all the bad things happened, all the good things happened, and then now we have friendship, we have romance, we have family, we have enemies, we have crushes, people that we admire and we're jealous of, we have dogs, we have relationships with people who have died, we have graveyards, everything. That was a long entry on my list of things that feel very Daoist to me, but whatever that was, what I said, very Daoist. To me, at least. Cellos. You probably can't. You're not going to be able to see my cello, but I have a cello. Very Daoist. That's like. I mean, I don't know if string instruments necessarily feel Daoist to me. Or music, obviously. Everything is, like. Because everything is a part of the universe. We are all part of this bigger thing, and it's probably a very succinct way to describe this in spiritual religious terms, or in a Taoist term, you know what it means, but like everything is one, and we are all, you know, I'm talking, and one of my instruments is somewhere in my room, and every time there's a particular note in my voice, I can kind of hear the one of the strings or the cavity of my instrument reverb. And now that I've said it, actually, now that I've mentioned it, it stopped doing it, which is, no, just happened just now. You're not going to be able to hear it, but I can hear it. It was a bit annoying. Scissors, quite Taoist. I have a shitty pair of nail scissors here. Not very Taoist. I mean, yeah, it is, but for me, like a nice big pair of, what's the word? Like a big pair of, sewing scissors, or scissors that you use to cut out shapes to make art with. Very Taoist. Friendship. Very. I love it. Love friendship. Connecting with people. Having conversations because you're waiting to leave their house so you can go get your train, and you're just talking about nothing, but then you talk about big things. Very much. You know, like maybe it's the recency bias, is that what it's called? It's because it's just happened, but I went to like a Halloween party last night. Very much so. Like elements of it. Me nearly having a bad mental health experience and experiencing, I guess, dissociation after the strobing lights, that didn't feel very Taoist to me. However, me going on the trampoline and then my friends joining me, and then after that I felt much better, and then the night continued and I wasn't having any sort of mental health like stuff or whatever, quite so. Stephen King. Not exactly, but some of his work. I actually haven't. I've only read one Stephen King book so far, The Shining. The Losers Club podcast, very Taoist, I think. You know, there's a bunch of friends talking about books that they love. And I've heard on the Stephen King Reddit, people mentioned the podcast, and they were like, they're true Stephen King fan, like big old fan, you know, King heads. They were like, I don't like that podcast. They talk about it, like, they criticize him sometimes, and, you know, why don't you just go read someone else if you don't like Stephen King? And they all seem like they're all, you know, people who seem to work for a particular magazine or website, so it all seems like I don't know what their point was, but they were just like, we're not down with the podcast. Oh my god, where's my don't die on me phone. 5%. I'll have to charge my phone. I'll have to put down my little orange that I'm using as a mic, even though it doesn't make any sense. Okay. A phone with 90% battery, like 95% battery, and you're going out and you have a big day ahead of you. Very much so. This, my friend gave me this for my birthday, I think, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he did. Very Taoist. Good friends, who you want to stay in your life for a very long time, and whenever you're with them, feel very safe. Very Taoist. A good relationship with your sibling, and seeing them become happier. See, I'm hearing the reverb again. I think it's my guitar. What the fuck? You know, when they've not had good times, and they're still not exactly having the best time, and you're seeing them grow and go out there, very, very much so. When a relationship ends, or when you end a relationship, and you think, before you end it, you think, oh my god, like, I can't do this. And you think I don't even want to say it because it's kind of mean, and it might, you know, I don't think the person I'm talking about will ever see this, but in case they do, I'm not going to say what I think, the specific, because it's gonna upset them. I think I would be upset if my ex said this about our relationship. It stopped being summer, or stopped being, you know, it ran its course. The best season was over, and now it's the end of the cycle. It's time for something new. We gotta prepare for spring, and then we'll find other people that we want to do things with, and it'll be better. You know, you sometimes, someone you connect with in one way for 6 months, you know, it's better if you continue as friends. And I feel so unserious holding an orange as a mic. It's so stupid, but I really enjoy it. I don't know, man. It's just like, I love like videos where, do I have something smaller? Like, I don't have anything that's kind of like a mic. What if I held like a pen? Like, I'll see some videos from YouTubers, and they have a video. YouTubers who produce hour-long or like a hefty video. I'm gonna switch back to my orange. Chronically online girl explains whatever, very Daoist. I don't know what it is about it. It's not, I don't know. And she holds like a little mic. I think she does. Also got a little lip balm. It's, you know, when you have, like, there's this thing in technology where you have, like, apps, and the logo or elements of the app will be based off of the original technology it was based upon. So, like a calculator will have, the buttons on the calculator will have that same sort of shading as if it was like a real calculator. Or, I don't know what I'm talking about, but, you know, when something used to have a purpose, and then now it's kept around for effects or visual whatever. I don't know, me holding a fucking orange, like it's a mic, because I've seen people do videos and interviews and they're holding a mic. You know, it's not collecting sound, but I'm doing it anyway. There's a word for this. Stupid. A calendar with cats. That is still on September. The fact that I haven't been using my calendar actually is quite Daoist. It's like very like inaction, things changing, like, you know, there will be a time for one thing, for one experience, one end of the spectrum. There will be a time for another. Like there's a time for writing in my paper diary, my paper calendar, and then there's a time for never using it again. Because I'm using like a diary in my phone. Kind of Daoist. The calendar is, there's a lovely picture of, I can't be bothered to show it to you, sorry. 3 cats napping. Take it back, cats are quite Daoist, in a way, like, but dogs are definitely more so. I'm just very into dogs right now. Norway. Is Norway very Daoist? Like, for me, the concept of Norway inside my head, quite Daoist. Like Oslo, the countryside, a fjord, the Norwegian language, Norwegian teen TV shows that I watched years ago that for some reason was the deciding factor in the Norway being my favorite country. Again, snow, just the concept of snow. A small dog walking on top of snow because it's not heavy enough for it to sink, just walking around on the snow, and then a big dog looking at that dog from the path and being confused as to why that dog can walk on the snow, and when the bigger dog tries to walk on the snow, it just stinks. That's kind of Daoist. I think so. A relationship with someone who you used to be in love with, and now you're not, but you still want to say I love you, and people around you are confused about what's happening, and people in their life are confused about what's happening with you two, and you don't know what's going to happen in the future, and it might end badly, but right now, the way it feels, when you're the second phone call you have that day, when you're very sleepy, and you always have more things to say to them, and you kind of want to go back into talking about your small r relationship, even though, like, to me, like, they're a significant person in my life at this time and point. They're not like my one and everything. It's not like I think about them a lot, but they're not like my cello is, like, if I had to pick between my cello and them, unfortunately, I would pick them, obviously, but I'd have a very hard time letting go my cello, but then that's never gonna happen, because unless they were like a horrible human being who for some reason hated cellos and was like, it's me or the cello. Anyways, this is so dumb. That relationship, and specifically the feeling when you're both cuddling, like after you guys hang out and you do stuff, and you're cuddling in bed with no clothes on, under like a nice thick duvet, and they smell nice. They always smell nice. And they are very warm, which is nice. And you guys are just cuddling, and then I turn to my side, so we're spooning, and their arms are like around me. And then sometimes we're not talking, we're just holding each other in complete silence, and like drifting in and out of sleep almost. At least I was. And then sometimes they would just rearrange their hands and they would hold me closer. I don't even know how to describe it. Some things are just beyond words. Like, if you try to describe it with words, it just doesn't reach. It doesn't quite capture it, like when you see something beautiful in nature, like a sunset or a forest, and you try and take a picture of it, and the picture just always looks like shit compared to how you see it with your eyes. Like, that concept itself, Daoist, but like that in relationship to when I was being held by this person, and how the way our hand, that kind of thing, quite Daoist. The way their faces, a good face, very nice face, and particular expressions they make, and the way that I get to just look at them, and then I get to look at their face real up close often, and sometimes from a particular angle as well. It looks nice. Like, the privilege of being close to them itself. The privilege of being close to anyone. Other people who you have been close with, intimate with, like, not just in one sense, but in the sense of when you were 18, I think I was 18, and he's like a few months younger than you, and like, that whole relationship, the friendship that came before it, the way I felt like I was maybe helping him, that I made things easier for him, me being around was a fun time for him. That was cool. The way that, like, see he's never gonna see this. People who knew him, no one in my life right now ever knew him, so it doesn't matter. I could go into all the details and then it would never get back to him because he hates my guts. That wasn't very cool of me. Not very, with, you know, how I acted as a person. Not at all. But when it was good and when we were in love and young and we would cuddle, he felt very Buddhist to me. I don't think he was. He was a vegetarian. Him as a human being at that point in time, so like, I don't know if Daoist or like just so, I don't know if I'll ever meet someone like him again. It's like, you know, sometimes you see like a comet pass once in your life and you might never see it again, and then sometimes you see, I don't know, like a beautiful aurora. He was like that, but a human being, and that doesn't even describe him like fully. Like a lightning storm, like when you see the spider web of lightning across the sky for an instant, you know, that relationship in a way was like that. I'll never find anything exactly like that again. I'm beginning to forget everything about the relationship except the feeling, the sort of dull, sweet feeling that it's left me with all these years later. That's Daoist. Yeah. I come back to friendship. New friends that you meet, and they really see you in a way. And someone like this person that I broke up with, they also saw me, like they, like being seen by someone, being perceived and then acknowledged. That's pretty cool. That feels very Daoist. And I don't know, like, I think you know, with a lot of people in my life, I try to see them. I try to truly, like, see who they are, but I don't always get there, obviously, because I'm never close enough to them. But then there are some people I'm getting close to, and then this new, you know, this new person, I'm like, it's like I just see right through them. Not really, that sounds like a bad thing. It's like there's just something that comes through, you know, it's like like through this cloud of human skin and clothes and all the, you know, a human body. Through the cloud of that, there is a light that just fucking comes out of them, and I saw it at some point in the first week of meeting them, and I thought, fuck yeah, man, like there's something so cool about you. And I'm sure I felt this way about other people, you know, and she in a way kind of sees me back. I think, at least I feel that way, like they will just message me with sweet, really long, sweet messages. I mean, I hope, you know, I'm hoping that the people I'm talking about don't see this and don't figure out it's them, but at the same time, I don't really care. I'd say these things to them, probably. Like, I don't know, it's like they, like, you know Sam from, Don't Pretend to Be a Wallflower? Don't Catch a Wallflower? Perks of Being a Wallflower. Sam, the way Sam sees Charlie and the way Charlie sees Sam. Not exactly. That's not exactly how I feel about this new person. A percentage or a hue of that whole, like, if if this new friendship I have with this person, if it was a color, the friendship I had with this other girl a while ago, these two other girls, there's a similar, it's in the same spectrum of color. There's like a, you know, something similar there. My friendships with these two girls, these two people, boy, that was very Daoist, especially with one person, who I knew first. You know, she was into trains and folk music, and the way she smiled, and the way you could tell something bad had happened, or bad things, bad people who were supposed to take care of her. And you only realize that so late into the friendship that you wish you'd known sooner, because you also carried that weird kind of shit with you, those weird scars. And you wish that somehow you'd kept in touch and continued growing alongside together. You know, like if your ivy on the side of a house, I got chipped away because of my own fault. But I wish we were still growing next to each other, and maybe our leaves would have intertwined, and I wish we were still close. And I wonder what she's doing now. Her working at a cafe, like imagining her working at a cafe, making coffees, being adorable, being cute, being friendly, and having conversations with her coworkers, and then she's probably thinking about trains and her girlfriend and her history things. Very Daoist. Her as a human being, oh my god. Her girlfriend, my ex-best friend, you know, I introduced the two of them. I created my own problem. Like, I ended up falling in love with both of them in a way, and then they started dating, and then it was like a very unique dagger. Like, the dagger that I stabbed my own heart with is such an interesting shape that I just I don't remember seeing before. Like, what the fuck? You know, who does this? Who has two beautiful friends? Well, you know, obviously I would do it because it just makes sense. It's like, that's what you do. You have two friends who you weren't in love with at that point. You were starting to kind of feel one way about someone, and then you thought, oh my god, you two are just beautiful souls, and you're so similar, and I just want you to be friends. Or I just think casually, yeah, like, I'll give you her number, and then they text, and then the next day she comes into uni, she's smiling at her phone, and then you're like, oh my god, you know, what's happening? And she's like, it's nothing. And it's her falling in love. Maybe for the first time, falling in love in that way for the first time, yeah. And then the two of them get together, and then the three of you hang out all the time. Two of you still hang out really often. The two of them hang out all the time. And I didn't hang out quite as much with the friend I was friends with first. That, and then you ruin it. You ruin everything by being unpleasant and mentally ill. You just fuck it up by going into psychosis. But even before that, like, you fuck it up for other reasons, but then you can't repair it because you're in active psychosis and mania, so you go and ruin your life further and ruin all your other relationships. Mental illness, trauma, very Daoist in the sense that everything is all connected and all these experiences are just a part of nature, and there's a time for pleasure and a time for pain. There's a time for mental stability and being happy, as I am now, as when I was younger in periods, and then there are times for fucking great depression like when I was younger, and then times for mania and feeling like electricity and fire, but in a bad way, and actually being a fire and ruining everything around you. I guess there's a time for water, there's a time for steam, there's a time for fucking explosions, right? And you can't control what comes next. You can't you can try and troubleshoot and do things that safeguard and minimize risk, but you can't prevent spontaneous combustion. You know, sometimes in surgery, um, like they'll operate on a patient, and when you have oxygen, because sometimes there's oxygen in, like maybe coming out of a tube for some reason, if I'm correct, I might be wrong. And there's like gauze, cotton gauze, and there's, I don't know, there's like a heat source. There's the triangle of fire, very Daoist. You need a heat source, you need oxygen, I imagine, and you need a combustible. I might be very wrong, but I think the triangle of fire, very much so. And you know, like you can try and surgeons and people who do surgery and then you're working in the medical field, you try very hard to do the right thing and make sure people are safe. But then sometimes a person's open chest cavity will catch on fire in the middle of surgery. And we gotta try and minimize that happening, but apparently it happens quite a lot. The Byford dolphin incident. That's the thing, I can't really say, like, everything is in a way Taoist, because that's the nature of the Tao, right? But, not very, no. Because, from my understanding, like, one person's negligence / exhaustion or possible tiredness from work, we can't know because he fucking died. If you didn't know, the Byford dolphin incident, I keep saying experiment, the incident was, saturation divers, they work in very high pressure environments, and that does mean that they have to stay within that pressurized environment. Otherwise they experience like the bends, or even worse, they experience bad things if their body changes pressure very quickly. Because, I don't know, biology, fucking physics. So what happened was, one day when they were exchanging the divers from the working vessel, which went down into the ocean, comes back up, they went through this tunnel into their living quarters vessel. The whole thing is pressurized. The tunnel they go through, they will apply pressure onto it, and then the divers crawl through it, and then they close both ends, and then they take off the pressure, and then they, I guess, detach the vessel some way, and then they go to sleep, wake up, do the same thing other way, go to work. However, one day, I don't know when it was, they were, the two divers had gone through. One of the divers was just about to screw shut or close the tunnel door. And then on the other side, the guy who was, I don't know exactly the term, he ended up opening that side of the other side of the tunnel. He opened it before the diver closed it. There should have been, so at this point, there was already like an automatic mechanism that was invented and was used in other places, where, like a lot of things in machines or equipment, where you have an automatic safety thing where if you don't close it entirely, you can't do another thing. Like, if you didn't close both doors, or that door wasn't closed entirely, you wouldn't be able to open it. But they didn't have that particular piece of technology, even though it was available. And what happened was, this guy opened the door before that guy closed it, and so I'm pretty sure it was like 9 atmospheres of pressure they were under. Like 1 atmosphere of pressure, I'm pretty sure, is when you go from like here into the sky. That's like 1 atmosphere. That's a lot of pressure. 9? Imagine 9 atmospheres. That's a lot of fucking pressure. All put into that one tunnel. I'm not a sciencey, so I'm probably getting it wrong. But the gist of it, the big and small of it, is that all that pressure was then suddenly released because he didn't close the door properly and he opened it too fast. All that pressure suddenly was just, it escaped from this area just out. And what that meant, what if I was holding a mic, the audio would be terrible because I'm just wielding my orange around. This vessel that the divers were working in, it got fucking blown across the fucking ship. Like it just fucking it exploded away. Killed a man, and then I think the guy who opened it too quickly fucking killed him. Gravely injured another man who was left disabled. Ugh. On the inside of the vessel. Okay, so there were already 2 divers in there. They were sleeping. They died instantly. They just fucking died, man. All the gas in their blood just left the bloodstream, I think, if I might be wrong. The fucking gases just left their blood immediately, just instantaneously, dead. Just dead. At least they didn't feel any pain because they were asleep and they died so quickly. This all happened very quickly because it was so much pressure that it just fucking, what's the word? It all just escaped so quickly. It was, and it must have been, I don't know, so shocking to experience it, to be on that boat that day. So the guy who was standing next to the diver closing the door, he just fucking died, man. Same thing, gas left his blood, dead. The guy who was standing in front of the tunnel, if you've ever heard of the Byford dolphin experiment, if you've heard of the Byford dolphin incident, you've heard about this part. So this guy was standing in front of a 5-inch hole. I'm pretty sure it was a 5-inch hole, or the opening of that he hadn't quite yet closed was 5-inch. Either way, quite small hole. A human being is much bigger than that. What happens when all that pressure is suddenly released in one direction? What's going to happen is the stuff that is behind it, or in this area, is going to be pulled or like pushed outwards or pushed in that direction. Because all that, like the pressure goes out that way, everything in that area is going to be pulled that way. So this man, a grown man, average height, would have been like, he basically, his body was snapped in half, bending backwards and sucked through the tunnel so quickly, at such force, that all his skin fell off him, was sucked off of his body, his face was sucked off of his face, his organs was sucked out of his cavities. He died instantly, thank God, because otherwise, not very good. They found, so his body, his organs and his body parts were everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. Apparently they were picking up his body parts, and they collected, I think, all of it, most of it, but then they were saying how there's probably more of him we haven't found. And there was one piece of organ that was so mangled and fucked up by pressure that they couldn't identify what it was. Right? That's fucked up. And, there are pictures of his... it's not even his body. It's not really his corpse because it's in a lot of different pieces. The pictures are available to see because, when that kind of workplace accident happens, you take pictures for whatever purposes. And you can see them. I wouldn't recommend going to do it. I wouldn't. I haven't, and I'm not going to, I don't think. But there's a picture of his face. As in, the skin from his face that was torn off his face. This whole incident, and the fact that it happened because of the company really wanted to blame the guy that opened the door really quickly. However, this is the discussion I've seen about this. These divers, or the staff, he might not have been a diver, I can't remember, but he was working with them. They work very long shifts, and I imagine they weren't unionized. I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm just guessing here, but whatever it was, this was ages ago. So workplace protections not great. They were working long hours. Like even now, workplace conditions are not great protections. But back then, it was really not good for a lot of different people, and I'm sure he wasn't working in the greatest conditions, but it doesn't excuse the fact that he caused the death of a number of people, including himself, and traumatizing everyone else who was there that day. Like, he is quite responsible for that, for opening the valve too quickly. But the company, I would say, is ultimately responsible for these people's deaths. This was a workplace accident. He did do it, but the thing is, it's like the equipment that would have ensured this never happening was available. I don't know how widely, but when you're working with such dangerous fucking equipment that could, shoot out a huge metal vessel across a ship and kill a bunch of people, fucking hell, and then not to mention the pressure and the pressure-related deaths inside. When you're working with equipment so dangerous, it's so wrong that they didn't install that equipment and buy it as soon as it was available. I think they could have. It wouldn't have cost a huge amount of money. I mean, maybe it was expensive, but human beings are more important than the cost of a protective mechanism. But guess what? To the company, no, they'd rather... I think someone mentioned grandfathering in, like, because they had the equipment already, they weren't going to replace it because they already had it. So, and someone was saying, like, you shouldn't be doing grandfathering in when it comes to engineering or working with these types of industry, or whatever. And also, obviously, they were making these people who do, like, important work. I don't know what exactly they were doing, but probably working with, infrastructure down in the ocean or doing something like that. Like, they're not, this is really risky work, and you shouldn't be putting them through such long work hours when, they say you shouldn't drive when tired. So working with dangerous industrial equipment with that much pressure, like, involved is such a bad idea. It's not like, it's not like, oh my god, it's a freak accident, like, no one would have seen this coming, putting tired people with all these real fucked up machinery. I don't know, man. I don't know much about science or industrial things and saturation diving, but it seems pretty fucked up that it happened. And capitalism, I would say this is... Like, a lot of these big workplace accidents wouldn't have happened if the companies that were involved did everything they could to ensure the protection of their workers. It wouldn't have happened. So not very Daoist at all. Capitalism itself, not very Daoist. No good, no bueno. I don't like it. People working to try and dismantle capitalism, and the people who are sort of reporting on this incident and talking about it, and talking about ways it could have been circumvented, that's more so. What else is very Taoist? There, maybe there was a point to mentioning that horrific accident. I think we should just appreciate the time we have with the people we love, because that man, those people died within an instant, but especially that man, I mean, I should know his name. He died that horrific way. Like, he didn't think he was gonna die that day. He went to work in his diving suit, in his saturating diving equipment, and then he went through the tunnel and he was doing his job and he was just about to close it, but not fast enough for the other guy, and he fucking died. Death is scary, man. Not being here anymore, family members dying. It's a part of life, so it is very Taoist. But when people die prematurely, and it could have been prevented, people who die because of, like, mental health issues, and circumstances that push them to a certain end, or a certain episode that becomes so dangerous that it ends in someone's death. I think that's very sad, and I think it's just so preventable. So many deaths all over the world, in so many hospital wards, so many roads, so many bedrooms, so many bathrooms, and you know, places. Like, people are fucking dying. Like, there's people dying right now, many different ways, all the time. And then there are people dying in ways where it shouldn't happen. Like, they shouldn't be alone right now. They shouldn't have been alone when they're in this episode. You know, someone should have been with them, or they should have been in a place. They should be in a place where someone's helping them. I don't know what I'm talking about. I think we treat mental health very badly in a lot of ways, and it's not as bad as it was in the past, but it's still not great. When you meet someone and they're very nice and they ask about your day, and all the good friends that make your life better when you're a depressed teenager who goes home to a dad who yells at him for acting like a zombie because he's obviously depressed. All those friends that none of them talk to you anymore. But at the time, them being friends with you and just in some way being curious about your life, who you are, spending time with you, that's very Daoist. Teachers, like your tutor who helps you come out, who just looks at you in that way with like such tenderness when you've come out, or when you're realizing you're trans, and also when you come to her with other problems, and just that tender way, like, it's double-edged. It's like, it's, you know, she really cares, but she also pities you, and also she doesn't know how to handle it, I think, but she still helped, and you've always thought she was so kind, and you wish you could in some way say thank you and go and see her again, but you're never going to. And then other teachers, not as nice, like, not as impactful, like, they just facilitated you coming out and were a music teacher who in no way was involved with any of your, like, she was your teacher for like 1 year, but you were depressed and had no friends, or you had friends and it was complicated, but you didn't sit with anyone at lunch for a whole year, or I don't know, and you would always go to the music practice rooms and play piano, and you showed her this dumb little piece of music you made, and now you can't play the piano because you only learned how to play the piano because you didn't have good friends to sit with at lunch, so you went to play the piano every day at the music center, and you got good at it, and you got good at improvising music and making pieces, and then she listened to your piece and says, like, this reminds me of so-and-so. I don't know, I just think that's nice, and that teacher probably has made a lot of students feel very good. And that one DT teacher, who was very nice to you, who left because she got cancer and came back, and you wish you had her for another year. And I don't know, I'm getting tired. I like talking, I think. I like sharing my thoughts. Sharks, very Daoist. Just sharks. Not the image of a shark eating a man, or any of the bad stereotypes of sharks, but just imagine a shark swimming. Right now, there are, I don't know, millions, if not more, like, sharks of all different kinds, swimming, sleeping, giving birth, chasing prey, just swimming in wherever it is in the ocean that they swim. 10 out of 10. Very good. Eels. Just eels, you know, of all different kinds. For a very long time, eels they never knew how eels reproduced. It was a mystery to science and biology. Freud, this is quite funny, Freud was an eel scientist before he was a psychologist. There's something to be said about the fact that he spent a few summers, was it, dissecting eels to try and find their gonads and their sexual organs, and he couldn't. He was another failed eel scientist in a legacy of many until they did figure out what was going on. And then he went on to study and theorize about human sexuality, and he was fascinated by human sexual organs. There's something to be said about that. There's many things that are very Daoist, I think. Music, good music, that, like, listening to music is like a religious experience. Like, people, you're listening to someone give you a little piece of their soul, in a way. And every time you listen to it, it's never the same as the last. You know, when it's a good audio, like the guitar is good, their voice is lovely. Like, there's, Billy Martin's song, I Can't Get You Out of My Head, or Devil Swim, very Daoist, very good. Folk music that someone new in your life who you like very much has shown you, very, very so. Like a folk album, Gregory Alan Isakov. What album is it? The one where it's like a bluey album cover. Very Daoist. Because for a long time you couldn't remember the name of the album or the artist, and you wanted to listen to it again because it reminded you of her. I'm gonna end this video, and then I'm gonna think of like a billion other things that feel very Daoist to me. Is there any point to making this video? No, but there are so many things in the world that are so good and positive and meaningful and peaceful and represent or are a, I don't know, like, what's the word? A fucking metaphor in some way. It doesn't make any sense. Like, they represent something in the world. Like, what is that phrase? Like, there's a line from finding a singer because this guy you hooked up with one time, he was kind of cool, kind of hot. He's like an outdoor activities organizer kind of thing for kids. And after you hook up, you just listen to music together, and you put on, was it Brian something? He's a country singer. I can't remember his name for the life of me. But he has a song called Something in the Orange. Very good, very Daoist. Just that whole song. His music, very Daoist. Another song, this guy's Christian. I think, or Christian upbringing. And I see God in everything, or something like this. Yeah, in a way, Taoism is about that, in some ways. I could talk about anything, and it wouldn't matter, because anyone who does watch this, including me, is gonna forget about this video at some point, and it's just gonna be another little area of water that passes this rock that you are in a stream, and all this water passes by you every day, every minute, every second, and the same little thing of water is never gonna pass by you in the same way, and that's fine. Yeah. I think water is very good. The ocean itself is very Taoist. And I should try and go to the ocean more. I guess, Ian, if you're watching this again at some point, I hope you are looking more into Taoism, because it's very good. And I hope all your relationships are okay. Yeah. Taoism is very cool.